All right, welcome back to Mind Pump TV. You guys, we're wrapping up a great series with Dr. Jordan Shallow. We're going to get into the mixed grip on the deadlift. A lot of controversy around this. A lot of powerlifters have to use this when they lift. Not everybody uses a hook grip, which is both overhand. So Dr. Jordan Shallow is going to get into that, the pros, the cons about that, things to look out for. So pay close attention to this video. Make sure you guys leave comments below, like the video if it helps you out, subscribe to the channel, make sure you share with your friends.
All right, guys, today we're going to talk about mixed grip and the deadlift. So should you pull a deadlift with an over-under grip? Should you stay double over? What are the potential consequences, and how can you screen for any damages you might be able to incur from deadlifting with a mixed grip? So first off, most people will get a benefit from pulling with a mixed grip, so an over-under grip on the bar. One hand rolls the bar one way, the other hand, it rolls into that grip position. Now, what people really worry about is the dreaded bicep tear when it comes to the mixed grip. So they think on the underhand shoulder, where this wrist is supinated, we're gonna end up tearing this bicep up into the shoulder. Now, this has happened and it will continue to happen, but there's a way to screen for the likelihood of that happening. A, it helps if you train biceps as a powerlifter, so those tendons have built some sort of resiliency to force. But B, it comes down to, do you have enough active external rotation of the shoulder to get a supinated wrist position, not from torquing that radius open, which will put stress on that insertion point of the bicep, or can you get that entire shoulder to get the palm to the ceiling with that active external rotation? So in all likelihood, if you're a powerlifter that walks around with their thumbs pointing to the back of the room, your shoulders bias a good amount of internal rotation, which means you're gonna have a harder time getting that wrist position from the shoulder and likely have to get it from the wrist. So a good test is if you put your hands out at shoulder height and then you turn your wrists up, try and turn it from the shoulder. Do you try and get there from kind of pointing your pinky to the ceiling, or can you get that palm to the ceiling from the shoulder? If it's the latter, then you're probably less likely to get a bicep tear because we're not having to stay active through that radius in supination of the wrist. We're rather getting that required wrist position from active external rotation of the shoulder. Gaining the requisite mobility for that's another video in itself, but if you can get into that position from external rotation of the shoulder, we don't have to worry about much torque generated at that joint at the radius where the bicep attaches onto. So what this looks like is, so again, my left is gonna be externally rotated because my wrist has to be supinated. So if you see here, I can get that palm to the ceiling all from that active external rotation. So when I'm here, I can break off the floor and everything from my wrist to my shoulder is being dictated by the position of the shoulder, not generating torque through the wrist. So if you don't have that mobility at shoulder height to actively externally rotate, I would work on that. I would work on training the biceps, but training with a mixed grip, if you're trying to pull maximal amount of weights, and there's a difference between maximal and optimal. You know, sometimes deadlifting heavy isn't the healthiest thing in the world for people, especially if you're really trying to push the envelope. But the last thing you should have to worry about is that bicep tearing if we have the adequate strength in external rotation and we've trained the resiliency of the bicep as the flexor of the elbow.